Hi, welcome back. It's Karen Rogers, and it's time for video number 45. Today we'll talk about shells, and I mean seashells. It's summertime, and maybe you'll find yourself at an ocean or a lake, and you'll see a shell. If you see seashells by the seashore, after watching this video, you'll know a little bit more. All right, let's talk about how shells are made. They are made from the animal. The animal secretes the shell. And I'm talking about the mollusks. I'm talking about snails and oysters and nautilus. But you've got this animal that produces chitin, which is a fibrous material. It's kind of like what insect shells are made of. Anyway, there's chitin and proteins and calcium carbonate. So the shell is mostly calcium carbonate. What happens is the animal has proteins that are secreted by the mantle. That's the soft tissue. And the protein, if you think about like concrete, the protein is sort of like the metal or the rebar. And the protein has these little sticky ends, and the calcium carbonate forms around it, forms a really strong lattice pattern. And of course, they vary a lot. But that's the basics. So shells are mostly calcium carbonate. They are made in different layers. There's 3 different layers. They're secreted from the mantle of the animal. And we will talk about the mollusks. You might think of other animals like turtles, but a turtle is a vertebrate, and the turtle shells are internal and they're a little bit different. So I'm going to stick with just the mollusks. All right, let me talk about the 3 different groups of mollusks. Group 1 are the bivalves, and that's like these guys. That's like your clams, mussels, and not this kind of mussel, but mussel, those kind of mussels. Clams, mussels, scallops, oysters, the ones like this, the bivalves. So that's one kind of mollusk. The second type is the gastropod. And those are like the snail, the land or the sea snails. Here's a couple of other gastropod type shells. All right, and then the third group is the cephalopods. And the cephalopods is the most famous one is this nautilus. All right, here's the nautilus. The shell is kind of a tan and white. You've probably seen these before, but the animal is so interesting. In this group also includes the octopus and the squid, but the octopus and the squid, they don't have shells anymore. They don't need them, but the nautilus does. So those are your 3 groups: cephalopod, gastropod, and bivalve. All right. If you want to identify, let's say you find some shells like this one, and you want to know what it's like, what kind of animal, or what do you call this shell, you can use a local field guide, or you can just go to the internet. And I looked this up on the internet. It's called a murex. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. And this one is called a American auger and a scallop. And then this one is a cowrie. It's a tiger cowrie. But the shells are just so interesting and so different. People have used shells for all kinds of things: art, jewelry, tools, weapons, dishes, you name it. People have used shells for them. They can make jewelry. They're just decorative. If you read Lord of the Flies, remember in Lord of the Flies, the person who had the conch shell was the one with the power. A lot of times shells are used to make music, or they blow the horn. I don't know if you saw the movie Demolition Man in 1990 something, but they had that joke about using shells as toilet paper. I mean, kind of dumb, but people laughed about that. The point is that shells can be used for a variety of things. And you can even make arts and crafts out of them. And this is something I made. I took some wiggly eyes and I just simply glued them to a shell. I added a smile face and some hair. And you could do this. You could maybe put somebody's name on them. Maybe if there was a special occasion, a birthday or something, or they're going on a trip and you wanted to say have fun on your trip, you could flip it over. You could write a little message inside. Really, you can do anything you want with shells. If you study shells, there is a study, and it's called conchology. And a conchologist is somebody who studies shells, and they are very particular about where did the shell come from, what were the conditions of the water. If you just produce a shell with no data to go with it, that's not very sophisticated. And there are people who love shells, it's just as a hobby, or I'm sure there's certain levels, but they'll meet together and talk about shells. Of course, you probably find those places closer to coastal areas. But the point is that shells are so interesting. They're interesting the way they're made, the fact that the animal made them, that the animal dies, they wash up on shore, they're beautiful. And I'll finish today with a quote that's kind of paraphrased on the internet. And it says that people are like shells. They're all beautiful, they're all unique, and each one has a story to tell. So my message to you is be your own kind of beautiful. Be a shell. I'm Karen Rogers. I educate, motivate, and entertain. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.